Hey guys, just wanted to welcome you back to the Chronically Chill. Again, I'm TJ the Park Bopper, and we're actually taking kind of a behind the scenes look about my life and the growth of my life as a YouTube vlogger and being the Park Bopper, kind of giving you behind the scenes and what we're doing today. I think last time I talked a bit about my health, and I'm still on that journey, that new diagnosis with exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. And I came across some information about that being kind of a common thing with another gastric procedure called biliopancreatic diversion, where they'll have a difficult time processing fats. And I think I'm in that ballpark. In my research of that, I was actually looking up vitamin supplements and maybe improving my vitamin supplementation. And I found that there's some vitamin formulations for folks that have biliopancreatic diversion or duodenal switch that's actually higher in the fat-soluble vitamins of A, D, E, and K. So again, that's something that I'm continuing to look at with my health. But today's topic is music, and where I kind of came from with that. My first experiences in music, and I've been thinking about this kind of growing up, and the inspiration that my mom had. My mom wasn't musical per se, but she had a history of music. She was actually in the choir at a church that her family belonged to, that my grandmother belonged to, Woodfin Church of God. And they actually made 2 LPs, 2 albums, 2 vinyl albums, if you're not familiar with the verbiage or with the reference of their recordings. And my mother was an alto within this group. So it always fascinated me that my mother made 2 albums, and that other people that I knew, Michael Jackson probably was one of the first big albums I remember owning. Tina Turner's Private Dancer, Prince, When the Doves Cry, all the Motown and stuff that we were kind of listening to, that I was exposed to by my mom and by my dad. There is a young kid, because my mom made those albums, it kind of, in my mind, it kind of equated that to me. So it fascinated me. So I thought, well, if there's something musical about my mom, there's got to be something musical about me. And I became kind of interested in that. And I always loved being kind of a ham. I used to kind of dress up and play act movies. Being an only child that was lonely and not a lot of kids to play with, you find ways to kill your time. And I remember, I saw the Elephant Man, and I would walk around the house with a pillowcase on my head saying, "I'm not an animal, I'm not an animal." And as a 5-year-old, that was probably pretty humorous. But anyway, music. So when I started to get sick around age 11, 12, I'd really gotten back into, kind of developing my own music collection. And I had my own stereo and things like that. And I would listen to music in my room just to kind of, occupy my mind. And I would think about the music and think about the emotions of the music and how that made me feel and how those artists would feel. And I kind of equated the music to things in my life, all those normal things that we think about when we think of music that we like or love. And then I just thought, well, maybe I should be a musician too. So I started to write songs, little poems and things, think of melodies in my head, and the melodies would come with the music. And a lot of it was just, about my relationship with the Lord, and how I felt, and how much I love God, and the things that I've been through, and how miraculous things had happened, and wonderful things that happened in my life. And I was just so indebted to God and just wanted to praise Him, and I still do that, and I still think about the Lord daily. So I wrote the songs, and I actually had a family friend that could play piano and would kind of pick out some of the songs for me, who had actually played piano in church. And so, you know, these little songs that I was writing at 11, 12 years old, they could pick out on the piano and play a little bit. So that was really the first true experience with, you know, coming to music and kind of performing it. And I wanted to sing in the choir, but I was a little overwhelmed with that at that age, just thinking it's music, you know, I don't read music yet and so forth, but I had that desire. So I went into grade school, and I decided I was going to pick up an instrument, as all musicians do, and my instrument was saxophone. And my mom's like, well, could you have picked, maybe you should pick trombone or something like that, something where we don't have to buy the instrument, or the instrument's not so expensive. And I insisted I wanted to be a saxophone player because saxophone players were cool, and I loved I loved to hear saxophone, and they always took the solos. They were essentially the lead guitarist version of what was in the band. So I thought, that's going to be cool. That's me. I'm a lead guitarist, but I'll play saxophone. So that was my thoughts on that. So I started playing saxophone, and it was tough. I had a really hard time kind of picking up rhythmic dictation and trying to, as a young player, trying to internalize rhythm. And I could really do the reading, but I couldn't get the rhythms right away. So that was where I struggled. And a lot of that was, I had to kind of learn by hearing. So it was kind of an oral player. At the same time, I could pick up some of the rhythm and I could count, but I couldn't internalize it enough to play it back and to sight read that well. And it's always, I think it might have something to do with my learning disabilities and how I read music, but I can read music and I understand music, but sometimes I can't internalize everything readily like I would love to. I'd love to be able to take a piece and just read it down and have it melodically correct, but I can't do that. Now, if I listen to it and I have an oral memory of it, sometimes I'll be able to sit there and get the oral memory, hear it, look at the page and play it, and with some more rhythmic success because I have that experience. But so that was kind of the thing, playing saxophone. And I struggled at first, and then it was just one summer I decided, you know what, I'm gonna be a good player. I'm gonna learn all my skills. I'm gonna learn the first player's part, and I'm gonna do this. It was around 7th, 8th grade, and I did. And I went up in the band, and I started doing really well, and it kind of took off from there. And then I wanted to devote my own time to practicing, not necessarily discipline practice like I should have, but kind of just playing the music that we were rehearsing in a way that you know, I would learn it and be able to replay it and do well with it. So but I wasn't picking up, I wasn't, you know, learning technique, and I wasn't working on individual etudes and things like that. I really didn't start into kind of any all county or all state band until much later in high school, where I was somewhat successful with that. So again, sight reading has always been difficult, and I always heard a phrase that said, "You're only a good musician. Good musicians can be are great sight readers." And I thought, well, that hurts my heart because I don't think I'm the greatest sight reader in the world, but I hope I'm a good musician, and I think I can play good sometimes. But it took me far. Music took me far. So went through high school, loved the jazz band. I played in my high school jazz band for several years, and I was in the marching band. I loved marching band. And my first real kind of bonding experience with a group of people where you kind of feel, when you're successful, you feel on top of the world, and you feel like you're, you know, you have that togetherness of, you know, the whole band feels that, and you're kind of in it, and you're doing great. or you're doing bad, and you feel that too. And that, I would say the defining moment was not a good memory that I knew I was, loving the band. It was actually the first excellent rating we got in my freshman year. The first excellent rating we got, and how that we had worked for a superior rating, but we didn't do well. We got an excellent rating, and we got a pretty good talk from our band director, and it broke my heart. And I went home and I thought, I just want it, I want us to do so well, and I want it for everybody, and I enjoy it so much and love what I'm doing, and I worked really hard, but all we got was this excellent, and I was sad. But I knew at that point, because I was so sad and because I put so much of myself into it, that I loved it. And that continued on through high school, and we did well. We were never the best band, but we were a good band, and in my mind, we were the greatest band out there in the county that we lived in. And that's how I felt. And then I went on to college and I studied music, and I was really into jazz going through high school. But the college experience for me was a little bit different, because the music that we studied there was more classical, or as much classical as you can have for saxophone, because there's only like 300 years of repertoire. It's not that far reaching. It goes into the Romantic period, and that's it. So everything else is just a transcription of another voicing. So going through college, it was a challenge, because I was learning something that I wasn't used to in terms of the saxophone. So it pulled me out of my comfort zone, which I think was a great thing. Like I said, I had a really hard time in college, and I had some great teachers, some really, really bad teachers. Bad for me. They might have been great for other people, but they were bad for me. And but I learned, every instructor I had taught me something, so I'm thankful for that. So with chronic illness, music has kind of been my my saving grace, or my kind of keep me sane in a way in dealing with all this. So now I have this degree in music, and I want to do something with it, and I've tried, for ever since 2005, since I got out of college, to say I'm going to do something with this. And I think it made me a rounder person, and college teaches you how to think and how to be logical and things like that. But I want to really do something with it a little bit more. Something at this point, if I'm going to be chronically ill and not doing much other things, something that I can maybe record and will be there for my daughter and my grandchildren. If I'm not, they can look back over these videos and over these things that I'm doing in history on YouTube, and say, this is who he was. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. But I'm gonna put all my music in this, and all my heart into it. Hopefully it'll be sculpted into something that people will find commonality with. So really, that's what I wanted to say. I'll talk more about music as time goes on, and I hope that you are feeling well today, and that you're having a great week, and that if you're headed out for vacation, that you're going to the parks, or going just anywhere, or you're staying warm, that you're finding comfort. And I love you, and I hope you have a great day.